My name is Marzieh Kaviani. I'm a geometer and I'm specialized in parquetry. I'm Iranian, but I'm based in London. I just finished an MA in Traditional Arts from School of Traditional Arts in London. My background is in biology, and I was always interested to, work with my hands, make things, and I loved geometry. And I was exposed to many different forms of geometry in Iran. So I started to do geometry around, 8 years ago. It started as a hobby. Then the COVID happened. I did many online classes with the Istanbul Design Center too with Dr. Majewski. And then I decided to continue doing this as a, something more professional and more serious. This is me working on, a few months ago, working on what I was preparing for my degree show. In the first part of this workshop or presentation, we are going to draw some of the shapes of the tenfold family, because this is how I learned tenfolds, by knowing the shapes. And then I will talk about my project. I was working with tenfold patterns. And then after that, I will show you the process of my work. I brought some veneers and chisels so we can cut and make something very simple together. I think all of you know what are the tenfold patterns. The two main forms of them are the star patterns, these ones. The star patterns and the rosette patterns. The term that we use in Farsi for them is dahekond, or obtuse 10, and it is referring to this angle here, the angle of the star, which is larger than 90 degree angle. And the rosette patterns, we call them dahetond in Farsi, or acute 10, because the angle of the star is smaller than 90 degree. We have other forms of tenfolds, but these are the two main ones. And as you can see, they are convertible. I have the star pattern here, and the circles that I draw give me the proportions of the sizes of everything. I'm not going to details. You can find lots of information online about them, or you can ask me later. And as you can see here, we can draw the rosette pattern on top of the star. You can see the kite, the toranj here, and the petal or sheshband sitting on top of that. They are sharing some points. It makes them very flexible and convertible. That's why I choose them to do my studies with them. So let's go to drawing. When you open any Farsi book written about geometric patterns, usually at the beginning they introduce the shapes of those patterns, and these are like puzzle pieces. They have a specific proportions and sizes, and when you want to check if a pattern is correct or not, one of the first things I do is that I check the shapes and the proportion of them. And if you want to, and all of the shapes form inside the star of that family. And if you want to create a new shape or a new pattern, as long as you can draw that inside the star, I think that's a correct shape or correct pattern. So I prepared the handout, which I'm going to give you. I have 4 mistakes. Your homework is to find my mistakes. And this is the other handout that I will ask someone to give it to you guys. This is what we are going to work with now. We are going to draw the star and the shapes on top of this, and you might need more later. So you need 2 qualities of line. One of them is the one that you are going to do the basic construction. You can use a pencil. And then you need another quality of line, which I recommend something thicker or darker to draw the final shape. And you might need to, paint the shapes. So have them handy and you don't need anything else. So this is what we are going to draw now. Ready? I think it will be helpful if you put numbers, annotate the points like what I did, because it will be easier to find the shapes. So I'm going to connect point 10 to point 3, and then I'm going to connect 3 to 6, and then 6 to 9. Can you see I'm jumping 2 divisions? I'm jumping from 1 and 2, and then connecting 10 to 3. So this is the rule. Jump 2 and connect to the third. So let me know when you were finished with drawing the star. This is the shape that I'm looking for. It is called Şems-i, or a star. Let's change the color to yellow because this is a star. So this is the shape that we are looking for. I'm going to repeat the process. I'm connecting 1 point. I jump 2 points and connect to the third. Jumping 2 points, connect to the third. The interesting thing about this star is that it's a universal star, which means that when you start from 1 point, you end up to the same point. Six. Okay. You all have your stars, or should I wait? I will go to the next one because it's very similar to this one, and then I will give you time to, So the next shape I'm going to draw is called ته بریده. ته بریده, which means bottom cut. Bottom cut. ته means bottom. So I'm going to draw it now. You see how it looks. I will start from here. And I think that's a good color for that. Yeah. So you have to draw your star again and find this shape on top of the star. So if you are fast, you can draw all the stars now. And I will give you the file. So if you are missing one step, you can have it later. Don't be worried about that. So this is how I connect. I connect 10 to 3. And then 3 to 6. And then 6 to 9. And what is the next? 9 to 2. 2 to what? 5. 5 to 8. 8 to 1.
1 to 4.
1 to 4.
4 to 7.
4 to 7.
7 to
And 7 to 10. 7 to 10. Yeah. Good. How many are finished? How many are with me? Come on, guys, fast. So you all know how to draw the star, right? Good. If you have one ready a star, continue with this step with me. Ignore the previous ones. You can draw them later. Okay? So the next shape is dane baluti. Yes? Sorry? No, the same circle, the same star. So again, I will start from 10. And this is the shape I'm looking for. And I think it should be green. Okay, everyone. I am going to draw all the shapes, and then I will give you the slides. Then you can draw them later. So if you are behind or if you are slow, just stop and look at. Yeah. So the next shape I'm going to draw is called sheshband. I'm going to make it larger. And this is how I find it. And I think it should be blue. I think it's good to stop working and just listening to me. The next shape is bark chanari, which is this shape. Let's start again. I think, what color you suggest?
Yellow.
Yellow, the star is yellow. Let's go with orange. So, bark chanari means leaf of chenar or plane. Chenar, yeah. The previous one, sheshband, is a kind of hexagon because it has, it's a hexagon, it's not symmetrical. And the last one that I'm going to draw now is pavozi, which means goat hoof.
gösteriyor yani bunlar bu desenler buradan çıkıyor.
What color you suggest, guys? For the goat? Gray. Okay. And let's make it very opaque. So, these are the shapes that we draw with each other. There are many other shapes. These are the main ones. And by having these, you can, by just tessellating them, if you make the puzzle pieces, you can make many different patterns and compositions. And these are like, alphabets of a language. When you know the alphabet, you can compose words, and then you can compose sentences, and then you can play with them. I'm going to give you a handout about these shapes later. This is slideshow, current file. This is the file that I told you I'm going to give you. I went through details of, proportions of all the sides, because the tenfold star family has limited, less shapes. So it's easier to, talk more about them. And this is me a few months ago in my degree show. And I was working with tenfolds. That's why I thought it will be wonderful if I talk about my works, the idea behind them, the, techniques I used. So this big one, this is, where are you? This is a parquetry. It's a big panel. It's as tall as myself. We called it microbial carpet. That's a long story why. And it is showing a dual level pattern, or shahgere as we call it in Farsi. The next one, next to that, this one, I called it Rosette Garden. It's a painting painted with natural paints, the paints that I made with, earth samples that I gathered from different areas. I will talk about all of them. And this is family member. This is the inspiration behind this presentation. These three are related to each other. The next one is Dance of the Stars, which I'm going to talk about it. These two were from my first year study trip. It was from, its analysis and, painting of a mosque in Iran, in Khorasan. And this is the last work I'm going to talk about. And yeah, let's go to the slides. So as I said, this is showing a shahgere or dual level pattern. These patterns are very common in Iran. That's why I did that. When you see them from distance, you see darker areas and lighter areas. This is showing the first level of the pattern. But when you go closer, you can see details inside each shape. This is showing the second level of the pattern. Imagine seeing something like this in a courtyard. When you enter the courtyard, you see the first level from distance. And when you go closer, you can see details inside that. If you don't have this, two levels from distance, it will like just, something pixelated. And I think that was a very wise way to do that. And yeah, let's go to the next slide. As you can see here, some of the shapes are repeating a lot. For example, this pentagon. You have it here, 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 here. Or this kite shape. You have it, everywhere. In fact, there are only a few shapes that are making the whole pattern. That are these ones. This is the star or Shamsi. This is pentagon or panj. This is double pentagon, two merged pentagons. This is toranj, which is, they call it kite in English. It's name of a citrus fruit. And this is sormedan, which is a bottle of, these shapes, sometimes they have funny names. This is one of those. So they had these small bottles to put in sorme, the kohl that they use as eyeliner. That's the name. And you can see the second level of the pattern inside them. For the Sormedan, I had two different solutions. That's why I put both of them. I'm going to talk about them. And for Pentagon, again, I had two solutions. And it is painted with handmade paint. So the first shape was the star. You can see the construction here. I don't know, and I don't think we have any historical example of it. I mean, made out with tile or wood, but we have it in the Topkapi scroll, which is a medieval manuscript that was made in Iran. But then now it is kept in Topkapi Palace. It's absolutely beautiful. I mean, it's one of my favorite patterns. And you can see we have stars in the corners and part of a shape here. So when you assemble the next one, put the next one next to that, they will complete each other. The next shape is double pentagon, and this is the structure. Again, we have the same thing here. We have a star and we have, part of a shape that is going to be completed. This is one of the solutions for the Sormedan. I used the only three shapes to construct the whole thing. But this is not symmetrical, so you cannot draw the symmetry line from here to here. The problem is here. But they can tessellate completely correctly with the other shapes. But in my work, I don't know if you remember, we had one Sormedan at the top, one at the bottom, and two in the corners. And they were cut into quarters or half. So I needed a symmetrical solution for the Sormedan too. That's why I went with this other solution. This is symmetrical. If you draw a line from here to here, this is line of symmetry. But the shapes here are more like the shapes that you can see in Moroccan style of geometry, Moroccan style of Islamic geometry. This, I don't think we have it in Iran, or at least in historical examples. But it really helped me to continue and finish my work. That's why I use that. This is one of the solutions for the pentagon. And again, you can see very simple shapes. Just, you have the kite, you have the pentagram, you have the taraqe, and then you have sheshband that we draw now. We have bark-chenari, and that's it. The other solution for pentagon was this one. They look like something, standing like this, or, they call it a doll, arusak in Farsi. But so yeah, this shape is a little too big, and it didn't go very well with the rest of the composition. So I didn't use this one. I just went with the previous one. This is the only solution for the kite, and you can see parts of, portion of a star in the corners and part of a shape here. This is going to be a sheshband when it is sitting next to a star or a tab, double pentagon. So let's go to the next one. This is the microbial carpet, the rosette garden, and this is, a close-up. And this one and the big panel parquetry, they have the same pattern, they just painted differently. So if you want to compare, this is part of the rosette garden. You can see these, rosettes, and if you connect the center of them to each other, you will have this torange. And this rosette here is this one. So in the parquetry, the rosettes are shared between different shapes with different color themes. That's why you can see the two levels. And in this one, it looks like just, a very complicated pattern. These are the things that you can do with the dual level patterns. This is one of the simplest ones. And this is the first study before going to that big project. These are the shapes of the tenfold star family. This is the first possible dual level pattern that you can put inside the star. And this is, you can put all these shapes inside the star. And this is the most minimal way of showing all the shapes together. So I found a second level for these ones. It's not the best solution, but it can be improved. For example, because this is not, the Sormadan is cut here, or it can be improved. But I put it here to show, things can be different. And in the previous example, we put a rosette pattern, acute 10, dahe-toned inside a star pattern. Here I put a star inside the star. So you can put a star inside the rosettes, you can put rosettes inside the stars. You have lots of freedom to do whatever you want with them. When you know how to work with them, when you know the language, then you can compose words and sentences. This is the next work I did. We called it Dance of the Stars. It has lots of a story. It has lots of a story. Two stories. When you come from up to down, you can see the rectangle is becoming longer. And when you go from left to right, you can see the complexity of the pattern is increasing. So I'm going to talk about this one first and then about this one. My background is in biology and I love nature. So I'm always looking for things that are changing, moving, converting to each other. And I chose geometry, which cannot have that very directly and immediately because it has lots of rules. You cannot break the rules. But when you know the rules, you can do things with them. When I was drawing, I use ruler and compass construction for doing these things. So when I was drawing them, I realized that the second rectangle is one star longer than this one. And a star is a very important unit because we saw we can have all the shapes inside the star. It's a meaningful unit. And the third one was one star longer than this one, two stars longer than this one. And, it was a midnight. I couldn't sleep and I was thinking about it. And, I imagined that as some sort of dance. For this one, the star is, standing here like this, just doing nothing. In this one, it comes one step forward and then goes one step backward, like what these two guys are doing. They're rotating and moving and, splitting. And on this one, the star comes one step forward and then goes one step backward and then comes back. And that's why it's longer. I think these can continue the dance forever. There we can have something this long. And after doing this, I went to Istanbul for the first time and I saw those very beautiful kondekari doors. So here I have my very basic rosette construction, the very basic rectangle. So I went to Istanbul and I saw those long, beautiful kondekari doors. And I think they had something like this in their mind when they were designing them, because sometimes they are very long, not very usual, tenfolds. So it's one of the things that I like to explore in the near future to see how this is going to work and how, this movement is going to continue. And this is only moving in one direction. If you can go up and down and left and right, and expand it like that, it can be something much more different. This is the construction of them, the polygon in contact construction. And so let's go back. I told you the complexity is increasing when you go from left to right. You can see many more shapes here, and they are much smaller rather than this one. And the process of having this one from this one is called gereh in Farsi, and this is how it works. I'm not going through the details, but using the information that this star gives us, we can cut it into shapes, these ones that I'm going to give you. And then we can have all those shapes inside the petals, and then we can have a new pattern with them. I mean, if you continue this line, you will have a pentagon here, and a stormedon will form here. Let's go back. So this is a door from Jame Atir Mosque in Shiraz. Sorry, the quality of the photos are not very good, but you can see the petal that was dissected and cut into smaller shapes. And this is another example, a mirror work that tomorrow we are going to learn how to do that. From Ali ibn Hamza Shrine in Shiraz. It's almost impossible to take good photos of these mirror works. But hopefully you can see inside this petal we have kites here, 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 and here. And the complexity is increased, which is some sort of movement or giving birth. And as we said at the beginning, the patterns are convertible, so you can draw a rosette pattern on top of the stars. So you can have a petal here, and then inside the petal, you can do the same thing. So you can continue and continue and continue. Start with something very simple and end up after, 5 or 6 steps, something very, very complicated. And yeah, I like the fact that it can do these things. So based on these ideas, I made 2 sets of boxes. So the pattern is from Agra, India, the historical example. I'm sure there must be other examples, but that's the most beautiful one, I guess. So this is my rosette pattern. This is my complicated pattern, and this is the intermediate step, going from here to here. It looks completely different than this one, but they are the same pattern.
India.
Sorry? In India, Agra. Yeah. But I don't think these two have any, historical example. Yeah. As I said, when you know the language and when you know how to work with them, we can create new patterns. This is the next set of box. So this is the pattern of the 3rd movement of the dance. And again, my rosette pattern, the intermediate step, and the complicated pattern. And as you can see, the color-wise, they look completely different. The first ones, let's go to the previous one. This one, it looks very dark and light, lots of contrast. And here, you again have dark and light and contrasts, but here it has a completely different feeling. And that's the artistic part of the work. When you want to do something, when you want something, with emptiness, I think this is a good option for a pattern. But you want something with lots of details, this is a good option. And it has this S here that every single person told me, oh, where is this S from in the show? So the question that I had in my mind for a few years is that, here we have this star pattern, and this star and this star, they are touching each other here on this line. My question was that what will happen if I give them a small space here, a small gap? What will happen here and what will happen here? Because this kite forms between the stars. So this is a small gap, and I rotated the star. And this is bigger gap. And again, I rotated the star, from this one. And as you can see, the size of the star is decreasing because the size of my rectangle is the same. So this is the solution I found. When they have the small gap, a new shape starts to form here, and a new shape here, a stormedon. I didn't have it here. And if I continue, a bigger shape will sit between the stars, and new things forms here. And again, this is one of those things that you can continue forever. This is my desk at the school when I was working on. This is the first star pattern, and we call it Omol Gere, which means mother of geres or patterns. And they say that we can find 170 different patterns on this one, and I believe them because it has lots of, capabilities. And this is the continuation. This one is missing now, and as you can see, the complexity is increasing, and you can see many more shapes, and they are becoming smaller because the frame is the same. And you can continue that forever. I stop here. Yeah. This is a more beautiful, simplified version of the same idea. So here I have a pentagon with the stars in 5 corners, and the stars are touching each other. And I have this composition in the center. In the next step, I gave them a small gap, and this gap is not something randomly. I found a formula to do that. So these are all mathematically correct. I have a gap here, and new things start to form in the center. The next step, the gap is bigger, and new shape forming here, more shapes in the center. And I continued, and I can continue forever. And as you can see, they behave differently. And what was fascinating about this one is that, here I have nothing between 2 stars. Here I have a full star, which is our meaningful unit between the 2 stars. And the numbers of the steps going from here to here is equal to the numbers of the steps of mitosis, a cell division, which is, happening in our body and in all the living world all the time. So here you have 1 nucleus, and at the end you have 2, and then the cells are going to be divided completely. Which was very interesting for me with my background. And as I said, the stars and the rosettes are convertible. So this is the same idea with the rosettes in the corners, and they're touching each other. And here I have a full rosette, between the 2 rosettes. A new unit is formed, was born. And here you can see how different they are. For example, here, they are very ordered. These guys are, hugging everyone in the center. This one, they are rotating like this. Here, they go outside like this. Here, they start to rotate again. So each of them have their own character and behavior, which is very similar to something alive. And it was a nice finding for myself. When I was doing this study, I was in my second year, the second year being in London, which was, I started to grow up myself, like these shapes. These ones, this is the, this one gave birth to this one. And you can see many more shapes, but it's a kind of limited growth because all the shapes are smaller than this one. And since I was growing myself, I didn't want to be limited. So I did the next study. This is the result of that. I will go to more photos, but this is painted with malachite paint that I made, and the paper is gilded, and this is gold. This is the most fancy paper I used because it was my favorite idea. So I changed my repeating unit from pentagon to a diamond here, a rhombus. This is the last step, but here in the first one, I have the stars in 4 corners, and I have some shapes in the center. For the next step, I kept the size of the star fixed, and I let the diamond to grow, exactly like this leaf that is underneath. In the next step, I kept the size of the star fixed, and then let the diamond to grow even more. And this is the continuation of that. These are for the, the study for the star patterns and the study for the rosette patterns. And this is the result of that. Unfortunately, you cannot see anything here. But all the information for drawing all these things is within this circle, because when you have the circle, you can divide it into 10, and then you can have all the shapes. And then by, putting them together, you can draw everything. So this is the seed of everything in this pattern, and what can come after that. Unfortunately, you cannot see anything again. Yeah, that's a shame. And yeah, let's go to the process of my work, because I think this is interesting. One of the things that we learn at the school is to make our own paints. So we go outside, we grab earth, or we steal it from somewhere. I have some stones that I was stolen from geology department, for example. So you have the stone, you grind them with hammer or something, you make the fine powder with them. And then you have this powder, and then you mix it with gum arabic, or you know, if you want to have a watercolor, then you have your watercolor. This is the process. When you grind it, you have to wash it to get rid of, you know, impurities, or be able to separate the larger particles, the smaller particles. And this is our kitchen. It was like this for 2 months. I went to Hormuz Island and I brought some samples. And yeah, my mom was very patient with me because I was, you know, taking away half of her kitchen. And these are some of the pigments I made. You can see the colors are very different. And when you mix them with a binder, the color might look a little bit different. They are usually more alive. And these are some of the samples I have. I have many samples. It just, you know, I wet the pigment and put that on the paper. You can see it is coming off in some areas because it doesn't have any binder. So that's why we add gum arabic to that, because it will bind the particles. Then even if you go like this on the paper, it doesn't come off. And if you want to do oil painting, you have to mix the pigment with oil. If you want to draw on gesso panel, you have to make egg tempera, so you have to add egg yolk to that as a binder. This is how they made paint in the past, but these days you go to the store and buy it. But the thing about these natural pigments is that they work very well together. I mean, the rosette garden, I didn't have any time to decide about which color goes where. So I went with my favorite color, and then after that I said, okay, that looks good, that looks good, and everything worked very well together. And yeah, when you have to mix the gum arabic or the binder solution with the pigment very well, and this is a Muller. So we put it on this is a stone slab, and you know, add the liquids and the pigment, and then grind it for half an hour, or no, less. And then we have our paint. I usually put them in shells, or you know, other containers. These are some of the paints I made and used in my rosette garden. And yeah, it's so satisfying to work with the paints that you made yourself. I mean, when you start with these, you cannot go back to the previous ones. And I'm going to show you some pictures of the process of my work parquetry, which is, you know, what I'm doing in the last 4 years. I have a small business of making boxes and parquetry. I had it before going to London and, you know, doing my MA. It's my name, my email address, my Instagram, and my WhatsApp. So if you had any question or if you wanted to be in contact, this is how you can find me. It's not finished. I have something similar to that is finished. So the process is that I design my pattern on a, you know, software, or I draw that with hand. And then I transfer, we have, you know, different shapes here. For example, I have a heptagram, I have this diamond shape, and this, you know, this funny shape, which looks like, I don't know, fox head. And then I transfer the shapes onto my wood veneers, which are very thin layers of veneer. These are all natural colors of the wood. And then this is the rest. I cut them and put them on a cartoon on one of the full patterns. So I usually, I don't choose all the colors at the beginning. I go with one color and then decide about the next one after I added the previous one. And sometimes I change them. So I wanted to have a star. I had some, you know, extra parts there. I cut it, and then I decided about what is going to be in the background. And then I cut a template of one of the shapes. This is how it looked before being, sized. And then I used a sandpaper to make them to the exact size that I want. I usually use a small hand plane to plane them, but I didn't have it at that time, so I went with sandpaper. This is how it looked. And then I have to press my cartoon, which is on the paper, which we're going to make now, on a piece of wood or plywood. So I use this bookbinding press. For the smaller projects, it's good. For the bigger ones, you have to find something else. I have a longer story of how I laminated my big project, the microbial carpet. I made terrible mistakes. I had to fix them. And then eventually I found a workshop with this very big hot press. So I had to travel to another city to press it and then come back. So it's one of those stories. So it can be a very challenging step. And I think this is the most important step, because if you don't have enough pressure, the shapes will come off very easily. If you have too much pressure, they might move, or all the glue that you are adding will come out between the gaps, and it's not something that you want. So this is the plywood that I'm going to put my puzzle on top of that. This is normal wood glue. And that one is the veneer that I'm going to add at the back of my work. And this is my work after having glue. And then you put this wood face, the paper face is underneath. You put this wood face on to this plywood, and then what you see is the paper face. And you can make mistakes here that is not good at all. You shouldn't do that. And yeah, then you will make this sandwich of two layers of blocks of wood or strong plywood, and then the plywood or wood that you're going to laminate your parquetry on that, and the parquet with the puzzle. It goes to the press, and because it was larger than the press, so I had to use these clamps to make sure that everywhere is very tight. And this is when I take it out of the clamp. This is the paper side that I was seeing. I used one of the papers that I printed something on that. So that's why you see the star. And then you have to scrape the paper side. So I use these glues, which are water-based. And when you wet the paper, they dissolve in water and come off very easily. If not, you have to sand the whole thing. And this step, you add water to your work, but you shouldn't do that too much because they will come off. And it's very scary to see. So these are the, revelation of the pattern. I sanded it a little bit, and I draw the circle on that. And after that, I haven't seen it. So someone is going to cut it for me with a bandsaw. And for finding the center of my, star or the whole thing, I didn't want to put my compass point on my veneer directly because it was going to make a hole. So I put several layers of tape, and then by connecting, I don't know, I think it was this point to this point, this point to this point, I found the center and draw the circle. And yeah, that's it. I end up with something like this. Yeah. Yeah, I have one piece that after you have your panel, you have to add something to that as a protection. I use Osmo oil. At the beginning, we used shellac. I think that's the best, coverage, the natural coverage. But then I moved to Osmo oil. one of the works that I brought, it doesn't have any oil on that. So we are going to add water to that so you can see how the color is going to change and how it is going to be alive. I think it's good to have 2-minute or 3-minute break so you can, go out, drink something. So I will prepare my works and then I will show you the process and you can cut some of the pieces if you want. So as I told you, I have my cartoon and then I have my shapes. I transfer them to veneer. I use this way. I print them on paper and, I put them on my wood. Some people just have one template, like this, for example, and then draw that on their wood.
Okay.
That's not very accurate. And, there are other ways to do that. The light is very important. I usually have one light source from here, one light source from here, so I can see the line. Because you might make mistakes and they add up. If you make a mistake in the center, it will show itself here as a big gap. You don't want that. So it's better to go little by little and accurate. For the central star, I go with this kind of wood, which is a bare wood. This is from the root of the tree. It's full of nuts. And it doesn't have any direction. So I think it's ideal for the center. And I'm going to make this one again. Here I have it again. I think it's the same veneer. I'm using a chisel to cut my shapes. And sometimes I use, a knife like this for cutting some of them. And for cutting small shapes, I go with this one. I want to cut this shape, so I want my chisel facing this shape. As you can see, the chisel has two sides. This one has, angle. I want the side without any angle to face my shape. Then I will go over the line and then cut it. Sometimes for these bare woods, it's not very easy to cut them. They just start to, split. So I wet the wood a little bit, just a little bit. It makes it flat and easier to cut. You see how soft it is now? It wasn't like this.
Nemlendirerek çok kesilmesini sağlıyor.
I will cut some of the shapes, then you can, play with them. Just don't cut your fingers. Sometimes some of the woods are very hard to cut, so I use a hammer to tap to cut it. And it can be very hard on your wrist and on your neck. So if it is new for you, you will have bad headaches or bad pains in your hand if you do that very fast. I remember the first commission I had to make 6 or 7 boxes in a short time, and I was sitting on the floor at that time. It was, I was sitting like this. For a month after that, I was in pain. But when you do that for a long time, your muscles learn how to do that, so it will be easier. So now you have your star, and then from the paper side, you glue that on the paper, the cartoon paper. You don't need any glue here on the edges because it will go between the shapes and it shows. So the next shape I'm going to cut is this one, which looks like, I don't know, fox or dog head. It's a very hard wood. So the big panel that I made, I was working on that for 5 months, every day. And it was too hard on my body, so I damaged my wrist. I should be careful. It's under, reconstruction.
Thank you.
So at this step, when you are transferring your shape to the veneer, you can choose the direction of the veneer. As you know, wood has direction. Here, this is the direction of the wood. So for this one, we went with this direction, like this. For this one, we went with a different direction. And because these lines show themselves later, it can change the feeling of the pattern a lot when you choose the direction, in the direction of the radial divisions of your pattern. It will go outside, but when you choose, the direction of wood like this, they start to, make a circle inside that. So you can do many things with just the direction of the wood. For pearl, you have to go with different tools. For cutting that, you have the coping saw. And then, for example, if I want to put pearl here, after it is finished, I have to carve it. And then
what is the material of it?
This is wood. These are all wood. This is from the root of the tree. Root, yeah. The part of the root, it's full of nuts, and it doesn't have any direction or form. That's why I like to go with this one for the center. And this is a bare. It doesn't have any direction really.
Roots?
Sorry. I think this is walnut.
Walnut.
I think so. I'm not sure. The tree type is going to change the color of the wood.
But other than the color,
some of them are softer, some of them are lighter. For example, this is rosewood. It's extremely hard to cut.
Rose.
gül ağacı.
But this one is, is a walnut. You can try cutting them. It's very easy to cut.
How about this? They were
Ceviz.
asking about this.
These ones, it depends on the tree and it depends on the thickness of them. I have something which is very light. I don't know what tree is that from. It's very soft. It's like butter. You cut it. But when you want to scrape it, it will go very fast. It will go very fast. So you have to be very careful. So I prefer something not very hard, so I can cut it easily, and not very soft because I don't want to lose it.
Okay.
Because when something is softer, you are standing and talking with someone, and then you miss everything. So yeah, you should be careful, and you should be careful about your body. As you can see, this bone is coming out. I damaged here because I cut a lot. So don't do that like I did. And I usually work with the geometric patterns, which you have only straight lines, so I can use chisel or a knife to cut them. But you see that a lot in furnitures, that you have flowers, you have birds, and you have different patterns with curved lines. So for those, they stack a few layers of veneers. The same size, the same color, and then using a coping saw, cut the shape they want. And then by cutting once, they will have 10 copies of the shape. And they sometimes put different colors, so they have five different colors of the same shape, so they can alternate. For example, this can be light, this can be dark, or so that's very common. But yeah, they use veneers too. So the pressing, the lamination process is similar to what I do, but we use different tools. And yeah, in Iran, this is fairly new. We use the thicker veneers.
There is a question from her.
Yeah.
The main material of this is the walnut tree. Yeah. The background. And here, this veneer is very expensive. That's why I don't use that much comparing to other ones. This is very expensive, for example. This is cheap. This is zebra wood, is not that expensive. This is not expensive. What is it called? Like this tin?
This is rosewood.
No.
The veneer. I will write it down.
Okay.
Yeah. When you want to make something, you have to consider everything.
the price of material, how easy or hard it is to work with something. For example, or I prefer to use only natural material, natural colors, but this veneer is a bleached veneer. I think it's maple. They bleached it and it's very white. So it's not really natural. But I use that sometimes when I want to have the contrast. And sometimes you can put, metal into that. So you have to consider everything. The price of the material, how easy or hard it is to use them, how accessible they are. For example, somebody gave me loads of this, so I use them. But when you don't have it, you use something else. This is
less than 1 mm.
less, 0.5 or so. So sometimes it happened that,
Experiment about this.
yeah. It happened before that, I didn't do the lamination process very well. So I saw these shapes pulling off and coming out, which is very scary, by the way. Or I didn't like the color, or there was something wrong with that. So I carved it using something small like this, or a wood carving chisel. So I carved it very thinly, and if I carve too much, I have to add one layer to bring it up, and then cut my shape and put it there. Yeah, and then when you sand it, it will merge very well.
We have some tools for the sand.
So I use sandpaper.
Yeah.
The problem with
have
sand,
now?
no. The problem with sandpaper is that it goes through the grains. For example, I have this dark veneer here. The sand of this goes to this one and make this one dark. So I usually sand it a bit and then go over everything with a scraper, which is a blade.
Number of
Sandpaper, 600.
The number is 600.
600 fine ones because these are very thin. If you lose it, you lost it. So the scraper is something like a ruler. If you give me one of the rulers, one of the metal rulers, I can show you on this one. So after you sand it and you wanted to make it, very shiny and clear. Can you hold it for me? Can you hold it, please? This is not a scraper, but a scraper works like this. It's a metal with sharp edge here. So you go over the veneer, you can see.
Very nice.
Yeah. And this makes everything very even. And when you use sandpaper, sometimes you can see traces of lines. With this one, you don't have that, and it gives you a very smooth surface. And as I said, it doesn't have any oil. So this is the raw color.
What was the name of the sandpaper you used? What was the material that you used?
This one?
You do it with ruler?
No. Scraper. Is a woodworking tool. So I think this is beautiful to see. If you want, you can take videos. I shouldn't do that. But imagine this is oil, and I'm going to add the finish to my work, and see the color now, and see how it is changing.
That's oil? No.
Ama ne yağı? Su bu ama yağ olduğunu düşünebiliriz. Tamam, onu anladım da ne yağı kullanıyormuş normalde yani?
It looks very alive and it pops out. Yeah.
How many layers do you apply the oil?
The oil, depending on the oil, but usually 2 layers. Yeah, with Hemel oil, we add 1 layer and wait for 20 minutes. Hemel, it's a branch. It's a brand. It's a brand. Yeah, it's a brand. Yeah, it's a brand. So some of the woods behave differently. For example, the walnut, it starts to leak out of that. You think that it's finished, but then you see, bubbles of oil on that. So after 20 minutes, you have to remove everything, let it dry, and then add the second layer. It was an honor for me to be invited to this conference and workshop. I learned a lot from Dr. Majewski via Istanbul Design Center. And I'm so happy to be able to come back to share my ideas and my researches here with you all. I spent last 2 years of my life studying these patterns very deeply, and I hope that I can continue that in the future. And the ones who are listening to me now, I'm sure you have listened to my lecture. If you had any question, any suggest, please, or any ideas, please reach out and tell me what you think about that, because it's the beginning of something very huge for me. And thank you so much for the time that you spent here with me. And I wish everyone luck, and that's it. Thank you so much.